أشهد أن علي ولي
السلام عليك يا أمين الله في أرضه موجة على عباده. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين.
أشهد أن علي ولي
السلام عليك يا أمين الله في أرضه موجة على عباده. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين.
أشهد أن عليا
السلام عليك يا أمين الله في أرضه ووجته على عباده. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين.
وبه نستعين وهو خير الناصر المعين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى محمد. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله. Today's workshop is regarding Umrah. Umrah Umrah. How many of you have been to Umrah before? Two people in the crowd. And Hajj? So, inshallah, you all get the opportunity to go to visit the holy household. But the visit to Mecca, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not like any other ziyarah. It has its own etiquettes and there are certain wajibat. So whoever plans on visiting the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to fulfill certain etiquettes and ethics. Okay? And unlike Karbala or Mashhad or any other ziyarat of the Imam, you just can't take a ticket and then fly into an Umrah. Right? You can take a ticket, go to Karbala and do the ziyarat and come back without worrying much because you don't have any wajibat and consequences if something goes wrong. But in Umrah or Hajj, if things go wrong, if you do not follow the etiquettes and the wajibat, you can end up in serious trouble, as we will see. So, and what is happening these days, we are noticing is because people during travel, they get the opportunity of taking a detour and doing an Umrah and so on and so forth. So suddenly they decide to go for Umrah. And then they go and do Umrah, come back, and then later find out they did not do the Umrah the right way. And then there will be serious consequences if you do not do that. So it is important, whenever you're planning on going for Umrah, get some training before you go. Make it a point to get that training before you go. Luckily, we also, alhamdulillah, have a training course that whoever is planning on going to Umrah or Hajj can get that training online. We have made it available online so that you can be guided, and we also have backup support. For example, if you're there and you don't have an alim access, you can call the backup support. There will be someone who knows the ahkam, who knows the rulings and can guide you if you're not there. So it's because today is the last day of our workshops, so try to finish this. The workshop is 90 minutes, but we'll see if we can finish it all. So I'll very quickly go over it. why or how this topic is relevant to Ramadan al-Mubarak. There's a dua that is recommended after every wajib namaz in Ramadan. So we do Ya Ali, Ya Azim, right? And then the other dua, this dua, along with that dua, this dua is also recommended in the month of Ramadan after every salat. And the dua goes like this: Allahumma rzuqni hajja baytika al-haram fi aami haza wa fi kulli aam ma abqaytani. We pray to Allah in the month of Ramadan. So one of the desires, one of the optimum wishes of the person who is fasting is that Allah grant him as a prize, as a trophy in Ramadan, grant us visit to the holy house this year and every year. So do not consider the visit to the house of Allah to be a one-time thing. It should be our desire to visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Hajj of the house of Allah, the sacred house. Fi aami haza, in this year, wa fi kulli aam ma abqaytani, as long as Allah keeps us alive. So this kind of points out to the importance of Umrah or Hajj. Now Umrah is of two types: Umrah Mufrada and Umrah Tamattu. So Umrah basically is a set of actions that you perform, and those complete set of actions constitute an ibadah. Sometimes those actions are performed standalone. So you're going in January, you're going in March, you're going in February, you perform those actions. Sometimes after that Umrah, there is another action that you have to perform. So that Umrah is coupled with Hajj. So when you go for Hajj, you do Umrah and then the actions of the amal of Hajj. But then if you go in any other time, not in the Hajj season, you just do Umrah alone. So Mufrada means singular. Okay? It is not coupled with Hajj. So any visit to the household out of Hajj season will be called Umrah Mufrada. Is that clear? So it is a journey of love towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has to be done with the etiquettes. The etiquettes need to be followed. Now before we can understand how this works, a few things. You know, when you offer salat, how does salat start? With niyyah. So if I do niyyah and I look like this, my salat is broken?
No. Allahu Akbar. Takbiratul ihram.
With takbiratul ihram, that is how you enter salat. And when does it end?
Taslim.
With taslim. Right? And when you are sitting in the third rakah or second or fourth rakah and you read the taslim, that is when your salat ends. So salat is a collection of different actions. So qiraat and ruku and sujood and tashahhud performed in a certain sequence. And as soon as you enter the state of salat, certain things become haram on you. For example, eating and talking and turning your face here and there becomes haram on you till you finish. So salat is not a single act like giving charity. When you give sadaqah or charity, you take money, you give charity and it's done. It's a single act. But in salat, it's not like that. It is a continuous sequence of actions performed one after the other till you exit salat. The same with saum, with fasting. It has a start time, it has an end time. And there, in this whole state, you are in the state of fasting. In salat, if in the second rakah you decide to quit salat, can you quit salat? It's haram, but if you decide to, if you turn your face like this, salat is gone or still there? The salat is gone. In fasting, if you decide to drink water, is your salat gone? Your fasting gone?
Drink water? Yes.
You decide to drink water, you haven't drank it yet.
Or no.
So you know that there are guests coming at 11 a.m. and you have decided if the guests come, I will open my fast with them at 11 a.m. And at 10 a.m. the guest called, we are not coming, the flight got cancelled, I'm not coming, and then he said, well, okay, let's continue the fast. Is this fast okay?
Yes, should be.
No. The fast is gone. The very intention that the intention that you are not going to eat till Maghrib needs to stay. If at any point during the day you decide, okay, I'm going to drink water, I can't continue the fast, I'm going to drink water, you open the fridge and accidentally there is no water. The moment you decided that you're going to open your fast, the fast is gone. Okay? So if the niyat is gone, the fast is gone. If the niyat is gone, your salat is, during the salat you decide, okay, I'm not going to continue. The salat is gone, even if you're still facing the Kaaba. So if you have the niyat, if you change your niyat, the action is gone. Similar situation happens with Hajj and Umrah. So Umrah is a sequence of actions starting from, just like we have Takbiratul Ihram there, we have something like that in Umrah, and just like we have Taslim in Salat, we have an action that takes you out of Umrah. And during the entire stage, you are in the state of Umrah, you're in the state of performing Umrah. Now if in the middle of your Umrah, you decide, you get a phone call from your home that there's a medical emergency, we need you here immediately, and you say, okay, there's a medical emergency, I'm going back home. You just quit your Umrah in the middle, and you go back home. Just like Salat and just like Saum, is your Umrah broken now? Is it over? No. This is the tricky part. You are still in that state of Umrah, even though you decided to discontinue your Umrah. And all of the rules of Umrah will apply on you. So this is where a lot of people make errors, and they do something. So if you're doing your Salat and you make a mistake in your Salat, a mistake that will break your Salat is broken. In Umrah, sometimes you make mistakes which will hurt the Umrah, but will not break your Umrah. You still have to come back to finish that Umrah. So if you do not know the rulings of Umrah, it is possible that you can come back and you are still in the state of performing Umrah. Ihram, the state of Ihram. And then all of those conditions will apply on you. So that is where it becomes a bit tricky. And that is why getting training before going for Umrah or Hajj is extremely important. Don't take it lightly. Okay? And because we are not used to the terms, it is an ibadat. Imagine if you were to pray once a 4 rakat, right? And I just set up a class for you and I told you what is ruku and what is sajda and what is this and what is tashahhud, and I okay, pray. The first time you're praying, how many people will get it right the first time? Very few people. Just one person. Right? Because we are not used to it. Practice, you need some practice to know which action comes first. During the first rakat, you say, okay, was it sajda that I need to do first? Was it ruku? What do I need to read in ruku? What I forget, whether I've done ruku or not, right? So the tashahhud was in the second rakat or the third rakat. There's so many details that just a 1 hour class for somebody who is doing salat for the first time. So convert, you bring a convert, you teach him this is how you do salat, and you go do salat. He might not be able to do it properly the first time. So in Umrah, because we're not in the habit of doing it over and over again, maybe once or twice in a lifetime. That is why taking the time like this and getting prepared for Umrah will really help them, and inshallah you get the opportunity of going for Umrah. This will inshallah come in handy. Before we get into how Umrah is done, there's a few terminologies that are important. So we'll talk about that and then we'll get into Umrah. The first house that was built on the face of earth for the guidance of people, what was it? First house that was built. The Holy Quran says, "Inna awwala baytin wudi'a lin-nas lalladhi bi Bakkah." The first sanctuary, the first house appointed for mankind was that at Bakkah. Mubarakan, it is blessed. وَهُدًى لِلْعَالَمِينَ, and guidance for all of people. فِيهِ آيَاتٌ بَيِّنَاتٌ. In this house, in this place, there are obvious signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of them is Maqam Ibrahim, the place where Ibrahim ﷺ stood to call people towards the house of Allah and pray. وَمَنْ دَخَلَهُ كَانَ آمِنًا, and whoever enters it is in the state of amun, is in the state of security. It's a sanctuary of Allah. Whoever enters this place cannot be hurt. This is interesting. On the face of earth, if you have no place to hide, no place to protect yourself, there's one place to go to. The haram of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if a person who has killed somebody and the authorities are after him, if he enters this place, you cannot capture him there. Allah says, "This is my holy land, and everybody who enters this place is safe."
But unfortunately, there has been scenarios where people being killed there.
Yes, so this is a ruling that Allah says, this is a place, do not kill anybody here. Do not arrest anybody here. So even if a criminal goes into this place, you are not allowed to arrest him there. So what are you going to do? So what you can do is you can boycott him. You cannot sell, you can decide not to sell him food and water and clothing and all other amenities, so that he's forced to leave that place. And as soon as he leaves that place, you can arrest him. But you cannot hurt him or arrest him in that area, in that place of land. So this is a blessing that even in this dunya, if you enter the panah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you're a criminal, you are protected. Right? So this is and that is why Imam Hussain wanted to leave his Hajj when he realized that the enemy Yazid has sent people to assassinate him during Hajj. In order to preserve the sanctity of this place, he said, "I prefer to be killed outside of this area, outside of the haram, rather than being killed in the haram and the sanctity of haram being desecrated." Okay? So everything is connected. Even in the movement of Imam Hussain, he preferred not to be killed in haram in order to preserve the sanctity of haram, because the enemy was not going to care about the sanctity of haram. So this is the destination. This is where we want to go. Now there's certain things that you're seeing. This area here. This is the door. And there's something this. And then there's this structure. So this gets removed. This is not there generally. And this is always there. So these things have their own names, and it has significance when you do the Umrah. So the relevant places are Maqam Ibrahim, Hajr Aswad, Hijr Ismail, Safa and Marwa, Zamzam, Hill and Haram. So I think most of you have heard about this list, right? How many of you have heard about Hill and Haram? No? Okay. So let us, and then Miqat. This is an important point, Miqat, that will come up. So if you look at the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this place, what is it called? This place is called Maqam Ibrahim. Okay. Then there was something here. This place is called, the black stone is installed here. It's called Hajr Aswad. And then we have this area. This is called Hijr Ismail. This is where Hazrat Ismail and Lady Hajar and his mother are buried. They are buried here. And they used to live here. Okay, that is why it is called Hijr Ismail. They used to live here and they're buried here, and there are other prophets as well who are buried here. And when you do the tawaf of Kaaba, you do the tawaf with this. So this is included in the tawaf. So you cannot do tawaf like this. You have to do tawaf like. Then, so we'll talk about these two in a minute. Any questions? Yes.
Was that marble thing made at the time of Prophet Ibrahim, or was it made recently?
This one?
No, the marble.
This one, but later on.
This
So
one?
when they used to live, they might have a stone structure here, and then converted this stone structure into marble later on. Yes.
Might be a silly question, but according to some people, now it becomes haram to pray there because there's people buried there. It's like when people say you can't do masajid and sujood when you bury people or shrines and stuff like that, and they complain about most like Karbala and stuff.
We can discuss this later. Yes.
If people go around that, then in Karbala, why do people say to Ashiyas that why do we go around it? But everyone else does that as well. They go around the grave of it.
Yes. They need to answer this. They need to answer this. Right? So this tawaf is commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is not Allah, obviously. So we are not worshipping this stone. Right? Similarly, when you do the tawaf of the Zari of Imam Hussain, they think we are worshipping the Imams. No, we are not. Okay? Okay. Maqam Ibrahim. So where was Maqam Ibrahim? This. Right? So what is the significance of Maqam Ibrahim? There's a verse in the Holy Quran which commands us to take this place as a place of worship. So this is the place. This structure has a stone on which Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ used to stand while he was raising the walls of the Kaaba. Hazrat Adam ﷺ was the first person to build the Kaaba, to lay the foundations of Kaaba, and Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ raised the walls of the Kaaba. And as he was raising, he stood on a stone, and miraculously the stone became soft like wax, and the footprints of Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ are engraved, are imprinted on that stone. That stone is still there, and one of the actions of Umrah is that you have to pray 2 rakat prayers behind that place where Ibrahim used to pray. He stood on this stone to call everybody to Hajj, to Salah, to do that when he gave the azan. So there is significance of Hazrat Ibrahim. He is the father of all divine religions. They trace all divine religions, trace themselves back to Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ. Okay. So this is Maqam Ibrahim. So you have the Hanakab at the back, and this is the station, and inside you see this stone. With the imprints. These are the footprints of Abbas. Whose footprints are there? Hazrat Ibrahim. So it's a thick stone, big stone. Hajr Aswad. Remember what Hajr Aswad was? Yes. The black stone, it is installed in one of the corners of the Kaaba. What is the significance of this stone? There's a tradition which says, Al-Hajrul Aswad Yaminullah fil Arz. It is the hand of Allah on the earth. And Allah does Musafa, He shakes the hands of whomever He wishes using it. So some people go for Umrah and then they don't touch because it's crowded, they don't touch this stone and they come back. Because when you come back and you read this, you feel at loss. Right? So it's kind of an opportunity to shake hands with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one should take the opportunity to make use of it. Yes.
You said he shakes hands, but Allah doesn't have any hands.
Yes. So it is, again, Allah doesn't have any hands, Allah doesn't have eyes, Allah doesn't have feet, but then the Imam is called the eyes of Allah, the hands of Allah. So this is all symbolic. So this is a presentation. So if you want to shake hands with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't have hands. What do? You touch the stone. Okay? Good question. So this is where the Hajar Aswad is installed, one of the corners. So this is the place inside. This is the stone. It is said that this stone came from Jannah. This is how it looks like inside. It is reddish. When you do the tawaf of the Kaaba, of the house of Allah, when you go for Umrah, one of the actions is rotating the Kaaba. The tawaf, starting point of the tawaf is this stone. This is where your tawaf will start from. You cannot just do tawaf from any point. This is where the tawaf will start. So if you look at if you look from space, this is, what is this? The Khana Kaaba. What is this?
The grave.
The Hijr Ismail. Where is Maqam Ibrahim? Here? This is Maqam Ibrahim. Where is Hajar Aswad? This one?
Bottom left.
This is Hajar Aswad here. Okay. This is where, so if you were to do tawaf, if you were to move around the Kaaba, you cannot start from here and start moving here. No. You cannot start from here. It has to be done from here, from this line. So if you're here, so if you're coming from here, this is where your tawaf will start. Then you move around. So this is one round. And this is second round. And so on and so forth. So you cannot start from here, you cannot start from here. This is where your tawaf will start.
This is also like a blue light indicating that you have to stop here.
So previously they had a tape on the floor. Now they have a green light here, so that if you're standing here, you look at green light here, and you look at the stone over there, you know where that your time has come to start. Any questions? Yes.
Birth cracks that happened after the birth of Muhammad.
The birth cracks are here. On this one. Okay. So it is recommended that when you do the tawaf of the Kaaba, when you rotate the Kaaba, you be within this distance. So this is the Maqam Ibrahim. So you do tawaf while Maqam Ibrahim is outside the tawaf. You follow? Okay. Now, imagine if there's so many people and they all want to do tawaf here. And when you're doing tawaf, you need to keep this inside your tawaf. So all of these people, when they come here, this is the space that they have. Right? So this will be the most crowded part and the most difficult part to get through. Right? And here, because the round is starting, again this becomes a more crowded part. Because everybody wants to stop here, turn to Hajar Aswad and look at Hajar Aswad and greet the Hajar Aswad. So if you're here, or here, or here, so it is recommended to do tawaf in this region, but the fuqaha have now allowed that you can even do tawaf outside. So you can do tawaf anywhere. It is mustahab, it is better if you can do it, try to do it within this place. Yes?
I know there's different levels at the Haram. Are we as Shias allowed to be on a different level?
So this is the ground floor. So if you're doing tawaf here, or if you're doing tawaf here or here, whose tawaf will finish the soonest? This one, right? This will take longer because it's a long circle. So the government has built a second floor and a third floor. So if you're doing tawaf over there, your one tawaf will take here like this. Very long time. And you retire. One tawaf, one side circle would probably be 1 kilometer. So 7 kilometers just to finish. 7. But if you're here, it will just be 1 kilometer the entire. Okay. So, for example, if this person is moving, this is how he has to. If he plans on staying inside. So this is the second trip, and then the third. And while he's doing this tawaf, there has to be continuity. You cannot break it, go away, and then come back. And if there's a long discontinuity, then you might have to start over again. If you forget, if you are in the third circle and you forget, is it my third circle? Is it my fourth circle? You might have to do it again. Just like Shakiyat Nawaz. So if there are issues and you don't care and just continue and you come back, you're still in performing your Umrah. You're not out of that state of Umrah. So things can happen during this. When you're going for Hajj, there are a lot of pocket pickers, thieves in this area with knives, the little knives. Yes, they want to cut your belt and get your money. So some people end up bleeding, some people get hurt, and maybe you're doing tawaf and you see blood on your clothes because somebody else was hurt and your libas is najas. You have to go and make it tahir before you come back and finish this. Because there's a team of pickpockets who actually go for Hajj, not fi sabilillah, for this reason. Okay, so even if you're outside, you can do tawaf like this. Okay, what if you do tawaf like this? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay to do tawaf like this?
Yes.
Yes, it is okay. Because again, after all, you are circling the Kaaba. It's okay. So this part is mustab. If you're inside, it's more sabab, and if you're outside, it's no, at this line. So you can start like this, and then come like this.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
So you have to 9:30. 9:30, so 20 minutes left. Okay, so this is the Kaaba. This is Hijr Ismail. Where is the Maqam Ibrahim? Somewhere here. Hijr Aswad is here. So if you go further out in space, what you see you will see two mountains or two places. One is this. So this is covered. This is the dome. The hill is inside, is beneath this dome. There's one here and one here. This is the mount of Safa and this is the mount of Marwa. So after performing your action here, you come here and then you walk here. So this is also part of the amal of Umrah. Okay, so you should get an idea of where Safa is, where Marwa is, where the house of Allah is, and how to do the tawaf, and so on and so forth. These are getting in place, these different things. So if you go out and out, so this is Mecca, this is Jeddah. Where's Medina? Medina is somewhere. Okay, this is Medina, and this is Africa, and this is Yemen. So all the fighting is going. May Allah help all the oppressed people in the world, inshallah. And we see in our lives there's the freedom of all the places that are occupied by the enemy forces, inshallah. Okay, so this is Safa and this is Marwa. After doing 7 tawaf, 7 rounds, you come here and you have to move or walk from Safa to Marwa and back from Marwa to Safa. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 rounds, not 7 circles. Okay? 1, 2. So these are all parts of your Umrah actions. This is something that you have to do. So if you're starting from Safa, where will it end? At Marwa.
Can you start from Marwa?
So once. So again, if you look at side view, so this is Muqam Ibrahim, this is Hijr Ismail, this is Hajr Aswad. So you do your tawaf here, then you come to Safa, and then you start your circles. This is what the Safa mountain will look like. So when you go to Safa mountain, this is how it will look like. It used to be a big mountain, but then they broke it, they kind of bombed it to make it smaller. Imagine if you had the whole structure, the effect it would have, right? So this is Safa mountain, and if you look at Marwa, this is how it looks like. Again, a very small mountain under its cover. Any questions? Around what? Walk. We're coming. Okay. So this is inside. This is how it looks like. Okay. This is the place where you will be doing the walk between Safa and Marwa. So this is when it's empty, but generally it's like this. This is one way. And you have the other way as well. So it's crowded.
It's going to be women and men separate.
No, both together. Both women and men together. Okay? Okay, Hill and Haram. Again, this is something important, and after it we'll go to the action. So if this is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you start moving outside, okay, if you look at the map, this area is a special area designated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as sacred area. This is the sacred area. This area, anybody entering this area is safe. Including thieves, including killers and murderers. If a murderer comes in this place, you cannot arrest him here. You cannot hurt him here. Yes. You cannot kill a lion or any wild animal here. If you kill, there is a penalty for it. So this is sacred land. And this place is called Haram. This is, and when the verse that says, Man dakhalahu kana amina, whoever enters it is safe. These are the boundaries. So if anybody enters this, so this is a sanctuary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever enters this is safe. And outside this is called hill. So this place inside, within it, this is the Kaaba. Anything inside is called Haram. Outside is called hill.
Who drew this exact?
Holy Prophet, it was the time of Holy Prophet, everything is marked clearly. Okay. Now, question? Okay, now here's where we are getting into Umrah now. Whoever desires to visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here or enter this sacred piece of land has to enter from one of the gates. So they are entry ports or entry gates that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed. One is in Medina, here, here, and here. So there are 5 entry gates. So you have to enter from one of these gates. These places are called miqat. Okay, so when you go for Umrah, so you'll have to decide. If you purchase your ticket from Medina, then this is the gate you will be using. If you're going to Jeddah, then this is the gate you will be using. If you're coming from this side, from Taif, then one of these two you will be using, or either this Depends on how you want to enter, from which direction you are entering. Yes?
When do you shave your hair?
I'm sorry?
When do you shave your hair?
Yeah, we're coming. Okay. So, this gate, and some of these gates, there are mosques, which will act as the entry point. So this, for example, if you're coming from Medina, this is the entry port. So basically, this is where your passport gets, your spiritual passport gets stamped. You're allowed entry to enter that sacred piece of land. So this is a masjid here. The people come here, and this is where their Umrah starts. Okay. So if you are outside this area, you can be dressed in your own cultural, whatever uniform or dress code you have. But as soon as you enter this, intending to visit the house of Allah, you have to have your uniform. Okay? So you have to have 2 pieces of cloth as your uniform, and you have to stay in this uniform till you are done with certain acts of Umrah. So if you're entering from here, this has to be done there, or here, or here, or here. So this changing of uniform is for men. Women can keep their own dresses that they're wearing. They don't have to change into these 2 pieces of clothing. Okay? So, let us start the actions of Umrah. Any questions so far?
I'm sure you can, the uniform, maybe you have 2 spares, I'm sure you can swap them around.
Yes, you can. You can swap it. Okay. 10 minutes left. So, there are 7 wajibat of Umrah. The first is ihram, then going around the Kaaba 7 times. Then you pray 2 rakat prayers at Muqam Ibrahim. Remember Muqam Ibrahim? 2 rakat prayers. Now these two acts together, they are one unit. So if you do the tawaf and you go and take a rest and have 30-minute rest because you're tired, you cannot just continue the next action. You have to restart.
During when you are doing there will be so many people. Can you offer your prayer outside?
We're coming there. There are so many questions now, and we cannot answer all the questions in the time that is left. That is why if you're planning on going to Umrah or Hajj, take a separate training session where all of these questions can get answered. Okay, so if you do tawaf, you just have 10. You are allowed 10 to 15 minutes or 10 minutes gap between the 2. If the gap increases, so people who don't know all of these, they do the tawaf, then they go sit, relax, half an hour, 1 hour. They come back, they continue the salat, they do all of the other things, happily come back home. Later to find out after 5 years that this was wrong. And they have to go back and redo everything because they're still in that state. Okay? So that is why it is important to understand all of this. Then next thing is you have to walk between the Safa and Marwa 7 times. After that comes shaving of the head or clipping of hairs and nails. Okay? And after this, again, this block gets repeated after that. So the Tawaf al-Nisa and the 2 rakat prayers. So Tawaf and 2 rakat prayers here, the same thing gets repeated at the end. So this is where your Umrah starts. This is where your Umrah starts. Just like Takbiratul Ihram, Salat starts. And this is where your Umrah ends. And within this, you have to, there are certain things that become haram on you and they stay haram on you until you are done. So if you do this incorrectly and come back home and after 5 years you realize that this was wrong, then you have to go back or send somebody to finish this so that your Umrah is complete and those restrictions are removed from you. Otherwise, these 5 years you were under those restrictions. Okay. Where do you do that? Where ihram is the dress that you change, your uniform. Where is that done? At the miqat. So at Jeddah or the miqat near to Jeddah or Medina. For men, 2 unstitched clothes, only for men. Then you have to do the niyyah. Even if you have the niyyah, your umrah does not start yet. So if you see people wearing white pieces of cloth, their umrah has not started yet. They have the niyyah, still umrah has not started yet. When they say the talbiyah, only then their umrah starts. Talbiyah is the statement, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. Right? When you say this is like the takbiratul ihram of the salah. Now your umrah starts. Yes.
Is it different between Sunnis?
No, this one is the same. Okay, then this is the Mustab Zikr. This is the start of your Umrah. So, again, this slide is important. You might find it a bit funny, but it is important because people make mistakes at Ihram. So, you are in Medina, you want to start your Umrah, you go to the miqat, you wear 2 unstitched pieces of clothes. So this person wants to become muhrim, he wants to start his Umrah. So at those gates they have washrooms and toilets and all of the facilities and amenities are present there. You can take your pieces of clothes, you can do ghusl, there are du'as and other mustaq acts that you need to do. So he needs to go take the shower, right? Everything has to be taken away. There was a gentleman who went to Umrah and he came back and he told that he did not take off his underwear. Right? Because he didn't think that needs to be taken. Right? So and then these 2 pieces of cloth will go in and he's ready. So, has his Umrah started?
Yes.
No. Umrah has not started yet. When will Umrah start?
لبيك اللهم لبيك
When he says this statement,
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك
now his Umrah
إن
started.
الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
Okay. So the moment he says that, you see these red lines? There are about 25 restrictions that apply to him. And these red lines is like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. So you are under siege. Okay, there are restrictions that you cannot do. For example, you cannot wear shoes with a closed top. This is not allowed. You cannot cover your head. You cannot use perfume. You cannot use shade to travel. So if you're coming from Medina to Mecca, during the day you cannot sit in a covered car. So you need to plan your journey. Okay? You cannot look into the mirror. Looking into the mirror is not allowed. You cannot have relations with your wife and all others. So they need to be separate, and don't necessarily separate, but they cannot touch each other, and they have to maintain distance, and so on and so forth. Similarly, for women, there are restrictions. She cannot cover her face, for example. Gloves, cannot wear gloves. Cannot look in the mirror. And it's interesting when you go in Mecca and you get to the hotel, there are mirrors everywhere. Okay? And they cannot wear perfume and so on. So what are those restrictions? You cannot smell perfume even. You cannot have food which is scented. You cannot use soap that is scented. Perfumed. Okay? So, and if you do any of that, there is a penalty that you have to pay. And some of these penalties are Some of them are the penalties that you have to pay. Okay, and some people might just have to add penalties in the card. Questions?
Why there are mirrors around if they count? You said there's a lot of mirrors around.
Yeah, the hotel people install mirrors. Okay, that is important. Our architecture and our design need to reflect Islamic teachings.
Yeah, so they didn't reflect
They did not reflect it. And then most people, when they come and they do the Umrah is finished. After that, they can look in the mirror, right? So the hotels cater to both, and therefore they have mirrors. But I think the main point is that whoever designed it did not keep that in mind. Yes.
Why can't we see bro?
Why can't? Because you're in the state of ihram, all of these things are prohibited. Looking at the mirror. Just like in salat, can you look at like this in a salat? No. Why? Because once you enter the state of salat, you have to face the qibla. So when you enter Umrah, you cannot put perfume on, you cannot wear normal clothes, you have to be in that uniform, you cannot look at the mirror. And imagine anybody missing did not perform his Umrah correctly, he comes back to his own country. All of those things are still haram on him. Looking at the mirror, scent, perfume, all of it. Yes?
Oh, when you're getting your head shaved, isn't there mirrors?
No. So, quickly, we'll finish in 10 minutes, I have to rush. So this person wants to go to do Umrah, so he's flying to Medina, so green means there are more restrictions. He goes to Medina, at the border, or at the entry point, there he changes into white dresses, then he says the Talbiyah, the restrictions start to apply. Let's just assume it's 8 p.m. He has to come to Mecca. This is 464 kilometers. So train would do 3 hours. Imagine when there were no trains and people used to come on horses and camels. 464 in the heat of the sun. You cannot cover your head. Okay? So expected arrival time in Mecca would be approximately 11:30. So the first you have done the first wajib is ihram, wearing that dress and saying the talbiyah. Your Umrah started. What is next? Tawaf of the Kaaba. Okay? So this is where you start. This line is where your tawaf starts. You try to stay within this boundaries. You have to keep this within the Kaaba. And while you're moving, do not face the Kaaba, or don't go, or in the opposite, look in the opposite direction, or in this direction, your shoulder should be facing the Kaaba so that circumambulating the Kaaba would apply, right? And you cannot do tawaf from here because this is empty and people might just come here and see that this is a shortcut and you cannot do that. Okay, so we already the longer you stay in Mecca without finishing your Umrah, you have those restrictions on. So people want to get rid of these restrictions as quickly as possible. So you start your journey at 8 from Mecca, from Medina, 11:30 you're in Mecca hotel, and then you have your dinner, and then you're ready for your Umrah. You come to the Haram. So maybe you're starting at 1:30 and you want to do the 7 rounds. So you do your 7 rounds. Okay. It will take about 45 minutes if you're doing it inside the circle. It will take you about 700 meters total distance, and maybe you will be done by 2:15. Once you are done, you have to come to Maqam Ibrahim here and pray 2 rakat namaz here. And all of this needs to be done in the state of wuzu. I had a case where somebody, and especially important if you're taking your kids and they are in the state of ihram, so they took their daughter with them. The daughter was like 9 or 10 or 11, right? And during the tawaf, her wuzu broke. And she was ashamed to tell anybody, so she just silently continued with the actions. And then after she got married, she learned about this. So then she had to kind of go back and get someone fix it. So that is why, especially if you're taking kids, make sure you're with them, you tell them, right? So there are serious consequences of not knowing the rules. So if you're doing outside, then it will take you another longer time to finish it. Once you're done, without much gap, you come and do your Salatul Tawaf, which is 2 rakats. And that is where you have to pray. So this is the area where you have to pray. If it is crowded, you have to go a little back, a little back. So this seems nice and easy right now. 2 rakat prayer doesn't take you much. So by 2:55, you'll be done with your. This is how it looks. So imagine praying 2 rakat here. Okay? It's difficult. So this is a clip from this year. Right? So imagine praying 2 rakats here somewhere. It's just too difficult to pray. So these are some of the practical difficulties when you get there. After you're done with this, the next is you have to walk between the hills of Safa and Marwa. So after doing your 2 rakat prayers, where do you come? Here or here?
Marwa.
Safa. You start from Safa and you go 7 rounds. Okay, you start from here. So maybe you're starting at 3. Now one section is 378 kilometers. So this 7 segments will be almost 2.64 kilometers. Take you another hour or so to finish this. Okay. So just skip. This is how. Okay, you see these green lines. So when you're walking, when you come across this line, for males only, they have to hop here. This section. Jog or hop. So you walk, and then when you come there, you see people. It's not running, it's not walking, it's something in between. Okay? So that is something that you need to do while here. So this is the next part of your Umrah. So when you're done with, say you started your Sa'i from Safa, again this one is wrong. If you're walking here, you cannot be walking like this. Or you cannot be looking back at your family members and can walk like this. That would be wrong. Okay, so these are little things to take care of. Let us finish and then I can take questions because we need to finish in time. So this is again, you will know when to hop or run a bit. You get into the run mode. And once you're done with that, then you have to shave your head or clip your hair or nails. Okay. But you cannot look at the mirror. One of the restrictions of ihram is that you cannot cut somebody's hair. One of the common mistakes people do, I'm in ihram, you're in ihram, I say, okay, let me cut your hair, and you cut my hair. This is wrong. Yes, I'm in ihram, I cannot cut somebody's hair.
What if I want to
Yeah, you do yours first,
Yes.
and then you can do somebody else's, so that you're out of that restriction. So once you do that, and there are barber shops over there, and then they can do that. Or you can do it yourself, or you can clip your nails. Okay. So once this is done, all that restrictions that were applied, part of them will be removed. Part of the restrictions will go away. Some of the restrictions will be gone. And you can now, but this still stays. This restriction still stays. You can now dress normally. Okay? You go back into, and then you can go back the next day in this dress and do tawaf and do other things. But your Umrah is not over yet. Your Umrah is not over yet. This restriction will still apply. Some people come back from here. They think their Umrah is over and they take the next flight and they come back home. But this restriction still applies. Okay? The next 2 steps is Tawaf al-Nisa and Salatul Tawaf al-Nisa. This is, the Salatul Tawaf al-Nisa is what will relieve that final restriction. So again, same rules, 7 times. You complete that. You pray 2 rakat prayer here. And that restriction is gone as well. And this is where your Umrah is complete. Okay? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So generally it might take 5 to 6 hours, a minimum time. If you come to the hotel, drop your stuff, rush to the Mecca so that you can get these restrictions removed. Or you can take 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 day, 1 month, 20 days, whatever. You can prolong it as long as you want, but there's no point in prolonging it. Yes?
Just for the Shia Muslims?
What?
Tawaf and the
Yeah, the Sunnis don't do the Tawaf al-Nisa. It's not in there. Yes.
After you finish Umrah, can you still stay in Mecca and there's things like all those things, restrictions off you, right?
Yeah, so those restrictions are of you, but there are certain restrictions for the holiness of that place. Like you cannot kill an animal. That will still apply. But the restrictions, yes.
From the gate to
Mecca?
yeah, is there like a train that?
Yeah, there's train, there's bus, there's air flight.
Isn't there a shade of?
So you travel at night. Very good question. Oh, I have a lot of people saying, oh, so you should have asked that question before. So if you're traveling during the day, one of those kafaras would apply. Maybe you have to slaughter a sheep as a penalty because you broke the restrictions. So either you take the flight at night or train at night. So some of the comments, this last slide, and inshallah we'll stop here. For example, if you forget to recite the talbiyah, you wear the dress, you have your children, your family members, everybody doing the salat and they wear the dress, and one of your sons or daughters forgot to recite the talbiyah. They do all of the actions, only to realize that their Umrah never started. It's like doing the whole namaz without saying Allahu Akbar. Okay?
So at that time you can have shade?
Yes, so whatever you did, no kafara, but your Umrah is not there.
Umbrella.
If your Umrah, if you are not in the state of Umrah, you can do everything. Okay? Some people go and do a tawaf on the wrong floor. Now they have tawaf floors. So not tawaf on all floors is allowed in Shia. So people can go in the wrong floor, do tawaf, come back, think that they're right. Okay? Some people do sa'i on the wrong floor. Again, for the sa'i, there are different floors. Some of the floors are not allowed. It's not allowed to do sa'i on certain floors in the Shia fiqh. Again, the forgetting tawafun nisa. People do that. It happens. And inshallah, let us again finish with this dua. Allahumma rzuqni hajja baytika al-haram fi aami haza wa fi kulli aam ma abqaytani. Inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you for attending. If there are any questions.
وبرح الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء وضاقت الأرض ومنعت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك المعول في الشدة والرخاء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم ففرج عنا بحقه فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 العجب 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 يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين